Hello, I'd like to welcome everybody to the City Commission meeting on Thursday, November 6, 2025 at 6 o'clock, held at the Municipal and Safety Building in Johnson City, Tennessee. I'd like to call the meeting to order. First, I'd like to welcome Pastor Ben Cole with Boones Creek Christian Church for the invocation. If everybody would stand with me, we'll follow with the pledge. Yes, that'd be great.
All right, thanks for allowing me to be here tonight. I'll ask everybody, if you would, you bow your heads and we'll go to the Lord in prayer. God, we just come to you now in the powerful name of Jesus. And God, I would just humbly ask now in this moment that you just help every mind and every heart in this room to understand how big a deal this is, that we're speaking to you. Our Heavenly Father, how much you love us, how much you care for us, God. We're speaking to the one who spoke the earth into existence. God, so I would just pray over hearts and minds in the room, pray over the leadership that is here. I'm going to believe that you have established that. That is what your word says. And God, I would just pray over whatever their agenda is tonight. I know I didn't spend time looking over it, but I know you have an agenda. Your agenda is to see souls be brought to you. God, your agenda is so much that you left your throne in heaven, chose to come down, put on flesh, dwell among us in the person of Jesus Christ. God, open up hearts now to understand that you love everyone in this room, anybody watching online, so much that you chose to be brutally crucified for our sins. And praise God, you did not stop there. But 3 days later, you resurrected so that we may live in your righteousness, not trying to earn your righteousness. We just get to live in it. So God, out of everything that happens tonight, not sure of all the believers in the room, but if there are believers in the room, may they live their life in a manner worthy of you, so that more and more people are brought into your kingdom by the truth of your good news. We love you. It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor, the first order of business is to consider approval of the minutes from the regularly scheduled City Commission meeting held on Thursday, October 16, 2025.
Move approval.
Second.
Ms. Laus, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Getz?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Mayor Cox?
Yes.
Next order of business is a presentation of a retirement resolution to Tom Witherspoon.
So I guess you're going through with it?
It's now or never.
All right, Tom, we enjoyed celebrating you earlier, and thank you for your service. I'd like to read out a resolution from the commission. So, whereas Tom Witherspoon began his career with the City of Johnson City in 1981 as a civil engineer in water and sewer services, was named assistant director in 1982 and became director in 1987, serving the community with dedication for more than 44 years. And Witherspoon earned the trust of the city commissioners and administrators through his foresight, understanding of emerging challenges, and ability to navigate changing industry standards. And under his leadership, the water and sewer employees achieved a high level of regulatory compliance, earning nearly 190 state and national awards, and prioritized customer service and employee safety. And he led the development of comprehensive asset management programs, developed effective capital program processes for the planning, design, and delivery of projects that improved long-term system resiliency, and improved operational continuity through sound budgeting and establishing a clear departmental priorities each year. And Witherspoon developed meaningful partnerships, including a multi-year collaboration with the Johnson City Fire Department that contributed to the community's ISO Class 1 rating, and a long-standing relationship with East Tennessee State University's Department of Environmental and Occupational Health and Safety Sciences through its summer intern program. And since 1981, the department has completed 11 treatment facility expansions or renovations, including a new water intake, which has withstand flooding events on the Watauga River, expanding services across 4 counties, and ensuring the protection of public health and the environment for more than 130,000 people. And Witherspoon's excellence in leadership and commitment have left a lasting impact on the city organization and the citizens it serves. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Johnson City Board of Commissioners officially extends its appreciation to Tom Witherspoon for his 44 years of service to the city of Johnson City and our region. Thank you so much. Would love for you to say something. Thank you.
So, thank you. So obviously, I've been here a while, 44 years. It goes by very quickly. I'd like to introduce my family. This is my wife, Pam, my daughter, Kat, and my son, John. And I'm extremely proud of my family, as we all should be. I'm going to say something. This is the last time that I get to address the board as a staffer. So, a couple of things. When you get on city commission, I don't know whether they tell you that you also have another role, and that is the role of serving as the board of directors for the water and sewer system. We have a very large system that probably a lot of people, large and complex, about 166 square miles, almost 2,000 miles of line, 5 treatment facilities. And I think one of the things that historically the commissioners and this commission in Johnson City have done is they have prioritized investment of capital in the utility system for operations. And you know, at the end of the day, that protects public health, it protects the environment, it leads to economic development, and as Mayor mentioned, some benefits also with the fire protection rating. All of the boards, and I can go back, and I won't, on a variety of projects and tell you when maybe that got voted on. And for most boards, they are approving projects that during their tenure may never be completed, but will benefit customers into the future. This specific board just went through last year over about 6 different planning meetings. That accounted for almost 20-something hours of time to where they understood what the future needs of our water distribution system, our water treatment system, our wastewater treatment system, and our wastewater collection system. And so just like the boards before them, they asked good questions. They never rubber stamped a plan by the recommendation by the staff. They asked good questions. They spent time understanding what the needs for the community was, how those would best be funded that minimized the impact to customers, and still achieved those key goals. And so specific to this board, like previous boards, they approved investment in the system of almost $80 million. And that will continue to pay dividends long after many of our commissioners that sit tonight are no longer on the board. So a large amount of credit is due to the commission and how well our system has operated and how well it continues to operate. As I mentioned in some comments today, I'm always amazed at the city managers. We get a certain amount of their attention about utility issues and planning for the future, but then they have to pivot away to Parks and Rec, schools, public works, and it amazes me for all of the, I believe I've worked in the organization for 6, including Ms. Ball, how competent they become in all of these different issues. And that's really it's really a very difficult job that all of them seem to have mastered very well. The employees that we have are outstanding. They're very dedicated. They're very technically skilled. They do an outstanding job. And we used to get the complaints about 5 employees standing around looking in a hole, maybe, okay? Anymore, we have so many underground utilities. One of the reasons they're looking in the hole, because if they happen to cut a black cable there, it may take out the internet to the hospital or to the VA or to an air traffic control center somewhere. So if the public sees our folks standing around the hole, there's a very good reason. And the more you see standing, the bigger the issue is. So, finally, the city could not have made a better choice than choosing Mr. Lane as my replacement. He's excellent. He will serve the city well, and I think the future for the department and the things that he will interact in is very bright. So, in closing, it's been an honor and a privilege to work here, and I'm very grateful for Mr. Job and all of the supervisors I've had over the years for supporting me. So, Mayor, thank you very much.
Well, I got to say a few words earlier, but even now, I'm just going to say that I've not gotten to work with you long, but you've spent even this retirement speech giving credit to other people and other commissions, but it was your roadmap that guided all those decisions. So I've appreciated you doing that every time I've heard you talk, is give credit to other people. And I think even Mr. Lane he's probably owes a lot of credit to you for you being a mentor to him and showing him how to lead. So I'm sure that a couple of the commissioners probably want to have something to say too.
Tom, you can turn around if you want to. You know, I always want to say something. No, Tom, and I'm glad you mentioned that we are the water board. Most people in town don't realize that.
And the beer board.
And the beer board, that's right. Well, one kind of, yeah. You know, I've thought about you a lot as you're getting ready to retire, and I have like at least 12-year experience with you serving on the commission. The thing that I think separates you from so many other people in management is your ability to teach. And we have dealt with a lot of things, personally I, over 12 years, that going into it, I didn't know a whole lot about it. And although you have a lot of slides in your chart deck, you always took the time to teach us. And we looked at the pros and cons of doing things, of making big dollar decisions. The pros were always what is in the best interest of our community, of our citizens, and how we deliver the best services, you know, to them. You have if people want to go to the website and see the state testing of our water quality, you don't have anything to read one night, you want to look at that, it's stellar, it really is. I think one of my first experiences with you was a tour. When I took Johnson City 101, I was not a commissioner, and we went out to the wastewater treatment plant out by, out in Watauga, and you took us through the whole thing, and you know, we were past parts of it, let's go like, oh, this. I don't remember that. Yeah. No, you're used to it. But then we got to the end, and you turned the spigot on and said, this is what gets returned to the river. And you took a drink of it. No. I think you did. Okay, well, you faked it then.
That's urban.
Yeah. But your pride in the system that's been created and through the employees that you've brought along and groomed and mentored and are there to support just a best-in-class system that, I said it earlier today, we hardly ever get any complaints in water and sewer. So if there was anything that this commission ever put pressure on you about, I remember it well. So Tom brought a couple of mascots into the water sewer program to go out and do education, I guess, to the schools. So it was drip, drop. It was 2 water drops. And so the pressure we put on Tom is, well, where's the sewer side of it, you know? And so what's the last one? And he went out and got it, and its name is?
Plop.
Plop. So Tom, thank you. Pam, best of luck having him around all the time. And to your children, they should be very, very proud of you, as we are. And your impact to the city and to the citizens of this city will be long, long lasting.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. I will say something, if it's all right, for just a minute. We may not rubber stamp, but I can promise you, after I read everything and you tell me that we need something, I could go to the bank with that and know that if we needed it, it probably is absolutely true. And so we didn't rubber stamp, but I can tell you when it came from you, I believed you. And that's one of those things that, you know, after 9 years, it's easy to say that. So thank you for everything you did for the city of Johnson City, for the years you spent, all the things that you did, teaching us, sitting around when I know it's not the most exciting for you to teach 5 people up here on your board everything about water and sewer. But I guarantee you, I know more about water and sewer than I ever wanted to know in my life. But thank you for all the time and all the minutes you spent with us, especially. Thank you.
I think it's like 20 million gallons of water, 4 million come from the spring house, 16 million come from the river. What is it, 900 miles of water lines, 700 of sewer lines. I listen to this stuff, and still the state thinks I need more training. But I want to say I appreciate your methodical approach and the deliberate approach, the rate studies, the long-term capital planning. You don't have to look very far outside of Johnson City to see water systems that failed to plan, and as the saying goes, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And there have been a number of utilities within our region that have experienced real dire distress to the point of even losing control of their system because of a failure to plan. And it is to your credit, it is to your predecessor's credit, it's to your team's credit that that has not been the legacy in Johnson City's water department. I would also point out a fun fact, though, that when you were hired in 1981, I think 2 members of our commission were being born. So take that with you. So congratulations. Yeah, well, it wasn't me, but congratulations and best wishes in retirement.
I could say one thing. I am one of those that was born in 1981, so our tenure here in Johnson City aligns. I am the newest member, and while I have not had the pleasure of being able to work with you very, very long, I have been able to see the culture that you've created, and spending time with your team and the employees just in the last couple weeks. I can see the legacy that you have built, and it's a legacy that I am fortunate to get to work with in the future. So thank you for all that you've done for our community, and best wishes. Enjoy retirement, have fun with your family, and thank you for all that you've done.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom.
Mayor, the next item is recognition of the Johnson City Parks and Recreation Department on receiving 4 awards at the annual Tennessee Recreation and Parks Association Conference.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, Ms. Ball, I'm Steve Willis, Assistant City Manager, and this is a proud moment for this commission. While we were last here on October 16th, this group of individuals, and probably others with them that evening, Over in Kingsport at the state conference, they were receiving 4 very, very prestigious awards, and I'm going to highlight what each of those are. The first one was the Ethnic Minority Intersection Donald Stanton Award, which was awarded to the Langston Community Center Health Task Force team. The second award was the Municipal County Intersection Robert Horsley Award, which was given to Kevin Mast for his esports programming program, right? Special Events Award was for our Candyland board game at King Commons Park. Many of you probably visited that last year at Christmas. And then the last award was the Innovative Program Award for a flight simulation experience, also headed up by Kevin Mast. Unfortunately, Kevin couldn't be here tonight due to medical procedure, I believe, so we wish he well in his recovery. But what I would point out about these 4 awards, it's not what you would typically think about in the traditional sense of Parks and Recreation, because nothing that I read in these 4 awards had anything to do with bats and balls. It had to do with a lot of other things. And I think that speaks volume of this team and speaks volumes of this commission's support of this team to offer a very diverse opportunity for our community in terms of the programming that they provide. And we're very, very proud of them and look forward to many more of these in the future.
Thank you, Steve and Commissioners and Ms. Ball. The support that we receive from all of you to be able to do the types of programs that we do is tremendous. And I feel so very blessed every single day to get to work alongside with everyone up here and those who weren't here with us this evening. The time and dedication, the innovative thinking, and the dedication that this team has to bringing these diverse programs to our community, it is just immense. And I'm so very proud of each and every one of them. And with our Langston Center Community Health Task Force, the community members that step forward and help lead those programs and just help guide us in the right direction and being there for our community from that aspect, we can't say enough to thank you for that. So I would give Adam an opportunity, or anyone else an opportunity to say.
Commissioner Wise knows. We are beyond grateful, and I won't dare speak for my colleagues, but I feel very certain in saying that the reason that we have these awards is because of strong leadership. And so deeply, deeply appreciative, deeply, deeply grateful to April and her leadership. So very grateful to a Board of Commissioners endorsing the effort. And again, just very grateful. So and very, very appreciative.
Anyone else? I will give one more shout out to Rich and Hannah. If you did visit our Candyland board game, all of the artwork and everything that you saw there, that wasn't store-bought. The two of them either built it or painted it, worked alongside each other with several of our other staff members to kind of make that happen. That's just a true effort of what the hidden talents that we have within our team. I mean, Hannah's our aquatic supervisor and is one of the most amazing artists. And she actually is a really great musician as well. So we find all these hidden talents in our teams when we put them in those positions to be able to succeed. And that's what we found in the last few years is we have a truly great team of individuals who are willing to rise to the challenge to bring these great things to our community. So thank you.
So, Ms. Norris, what are they going to do this year then?
Oh, we have been working on that, Jenny, to bring it up to the next level. We learned some things last year. And every year that we get to do this event, and I also want to say thank you to Keisha and Lindsay for even bringing this to us, and you as well, Commissioner Brock. I know this was one of your ideas, was to have something like that for Candyland. And just to sit around the table and have those conversations and get to kind of imagineer together on what we could make happen was truly amazing. And we continue to do that every year to just make it better and better. So thank you.
Thank you. And thank you guys for all your hard work.
Commissioners, the next order of business is public comment, and under public comment, we have Ms. Tricia Karat to speak about item number 7.1.4 on the consent agenda, which is to consider approval of a 10-year license agreement for Freedom Hall Civic Center between the City of Johnson City and East Tennessee State University for the men's basketball program. Good afternoon.
Hi there. I'll just remind you just a couple rules on public comment. It's limited to people that have signed up at least 12 hours in advance, and you have 3 minutes to address the commission. Thank you.
Mayor, Commissioners, Manager Ball, good evening. There's a number I'd like you to make a note of, and I'm going to come back to it in less than 3 minutes. The number is this: $605,300. I am fully supportive of continuing the partnership between the city and ETSU to host men's basketball at Freedom Hall. I'd like to raise 3 points about this. The first point, the documents that were provided to the public, I cannot reconcile to the annual revenue cited as $90,000 to $120,000. Reviewing section 3, I can get to about $65,000. Where does the rest of the revenue come from? Does it come from concessions? Does it come from novelty sales? I'd like to know to make sure we have that backup. My second point, the documents only provide half of the financial picture. It provides the revenue, half of it. The operating expense is the other half. The question is this: does this agreement break even, or are we operating at a loss? Which brings me to my third point. Remember that number, $605,300? That's the operating deficiency. In business terms, we call it an operating loss. That's the deficiency that Freedom Hall recognized in fiscal 2025. And that number comes from the supplemental budget ordinance that was passed less than 2 months ago to balance out fiscal 25. $605,300 was drawn out of the general fund, no longer available for use anywhere else. Last year was not unique. Page 74 of the budget book, Freedom Hall, fiscal 23, deficiency in financials, $458,000. Fiscal 24, deficiency of $410,000. Fiscal 25, deficiency of $605,000. Budget for 2026, a deficiency of $449,000. I have 2 asks. My first ask is that somebody on the commission pull this item from the consent agenda for further conversation to address the 2 questions I asked. Where does the rest of the revenue come from? And does this agreement operate break even or at a loss? Which brings me to my second ask. I urge the commission to ask staff to initiate a business review of Freedom Hall towards the goal of creating a plan to get it to break even. You were successful in doing that for the golf course. Let's do the same for Freedom Hall. We need to protect as much of our general fund as possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Commission, the next order of business is consideration of appointments of city commission members to various boards and board positions vacated by Mr. Hunter. Mayor, do you have a list of those positions?
I do.
Do you want me to make it as a motion?
Yes. I'll let you read
Okay,
them
so
out that
I'll
way.
make this as a motion. We did this, oops, sorry. make this as a motion. We did this in a work session. There are 7 boards that Mr. Hunter served on that require a commissioner, and so they are Bright Ridge Chamber of Commerce, East Tennessee Railroad Authority, First Tennessee Development District, Regional Planning Commission, the JCDA Tax Increment Funding Advisory Board, and the Washington County Economic Development Board. And so by way of a motion, I would put forth the following as appointments to those boards. Bright Ridge Board of Directors, Joe Wise. Chamber of Commerce, Greg Cox. East Tennessee Railroad Authority, Vice Mayor Brock. First Tennessee Development District, Vice Mayor Brock. Regional Planning Commission, Commissioner Whitney Getz. The TIF Advisory Board, Vice Mayor Brock. And the Washington County Economic Development Board, Mayor Cox. So that's by way of a motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Ms. Laus?
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Getz?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Mayor Cox?
Yes.
Commission, the next order of business is consideration of the consent agenda.
I'll start to my right and see if there's any items to pull. Commissioner Fowler.
7.1.4, please.
Okay, and I have 3 others. I was going to pull that one as well. 7.1.2, 7.1.3, and 7.4.1.
Commissioner Wise?
Well, they already picked it. They already picked all the good ones, so I don't have anything else.
And Commissioner Getz?
I'm good as well.
Okay, I'll make sure I've got this right. The first item to be pulled is 7.1.2, which is to consider approval of the final balance change order number 4 for Summers and Taylor on the West Walnut redevelopment project. And we have our Public Works Director, Jason Miles, to address any questions on this item.
Mr. Miles, tonight, maybe it would just be good to give a kind of a little bit of overview about the completion of it. We do have a couple of things still to go, like the park, like the stormwater project up there. But then I think in the next couple of months, it would be great to have a full report to the commission and to the public about that project. We've invested a considerable amount of money for it and what we learned, and how it's being positioned in the community in terms of its retail district and what we're going to see from it. But tonight, just a short version of kind of where we are.
Sure. Good evening, Commissioners, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Manager Ball. So some highlights, if you will. I know a lot of people were concerned about the schedule for the project. It was originally 24 months. We are at about 4 years of finishing the project. A lot of that was due to there were a lot of unforeseen conditions. Obviously when you're digging up, utilities that are 100 years old, you're going to run into a lot of unforeseen conditions. The estimate for the schedule was probably off in the first place, to be honest, when you run that far over. But we plugged away and have essentially finished the project. There is, as you touched on, the next sort of I'll say related but unrelated, is the Cherokee Pond project, which is the Cherokee Extension road over to State of Franklin. The work is ongoing now, as you all have probably seen the excavators out there digging out the pond and that sort of thing. So that's the stormwater enhancement aspect of the project, above and beyond all of the stormwater improvements that were made, throughout the project limits, which were extensive, of course, on top of the water and sewer. I've got a list of highlights, actually. I'll read off to you. And certainly we'll be glad to come forward with a final summary of the project. But the accomplishments of this project include 2 miles of completely rebuilt roads with new sidewalks, all new landscaping, decorative lighting, again, stormwater, water, sewer, all replaced, Ernest Street walkway, 50,000 square feet of pavers, 3/4 miles of dedicated bike lane. Cherokee Street Extension was built, that road, which was built by City Forces, actually. Also, all utilities are now underground. We've improved University Parkway substantially from a safety perspective for vehicles. We also have new dual 42-inch storm pipes underneath Ernest Street, Understate of Franklin, and Norfolk Southern Railroad. So those are some of the highlights or accomplishments of the project. Again, the schedule impacts were considerable. A lot of that was also due to adding in all the side streets that tie into West Walnut. That work was very extensive. Those roads were in terrible shape, so we fixed them up while we were there. I think most people would agree that, you know, overall the project looks great. I do want to close tonight and come back to you later as you requested with a financial sort of quick take on things. We are going to be under budget. The original budget that you all approved as a commission, we are going to come in under budget for all, I guess, all categories of that budget. So pretty amazing after 4 years of this project, $40 million. All of the utilities that went into this, the telecom utilities, all of those improvements that we were able to deliver this project under budget. Schedule notwithstanding, of course. Yeah. Any other questions?
The next item in question, next item in question is 7.1.3. Consider approval of the memorandum of understanding between the Rotary Foundation and the City of Johnson City for a bicycle playground on Johnson City-owned property. We have Assistant City Manager Steve Willis to answer any questions about this item.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, Ms. Ball. I'm Steve Willis, Assistant City Manager. This MOU is an arrangement between the Rotary Foundation and the city for the build-out of a bicycle playground on Lower Tannery Knobs. You've probably seen some dirt being moved up there already. Rotary Foundation has raised $420,000 toward the build of this park. 170 of that was received through private donations. 50,000 was raised by the local Rotary group. And then Governor Lee, as part of the First Frontier Trail allocation, designated 200,000 of that $5 million to go toward this project. The Rotary Foundation has also agreed that if any monies are left over after the build out of that park, it would be transferred into a maintenance fund. Parks and Recreation will be responsible for the build out in conjunction with Rotary of the bicycle playground. We have a fantastic trail builder, Mr. Josh Collins, who I'm sure some of you have met, and we feel confident in his ability to build this out in such a way that it would be much easier for us to maintain, and it will stretch this $420,000 much further than if we employed a private contractor to build out the park.
Mr. Willis, just for the public, what is a bicycle playground?
So it would be designed for riders primarily of younger age. And the idea would be you start out at Lower Tannery, build your skill set in order to be able to transition to the more difficult trails on top of Tannery, which have been in place for quite some time.
Would it also be a place that families can come and the children on their bicycles and they can just go play?
Absolutely.
Just
so
get a lot of energy out.
The in-kind work the city will be performing is building the road in with parking, restrooms, and a pavilion area as well.
And bench areas for the families to,
Yes, ma'am.
to be there. Thank you.
Looking forward to getting it open. Of course, we're approaching winter here, so we'll see how the weather cooperates with us, but we're well underway there. Thank you.
The next item is the 10-year lease agreement with Freedom Hall for the agreement between the City of Johnson City and East Tennessee State University for the men's basketball agreement.
Sure. To give a little history, ETSU first began play their men's basketball team at Freedom Hall in 2014, so there have been two 5-year agreements. The current agreement expires at the end of this year's men's basketball season. In meetings with Dr. Nolan, Dr. Sanders, City Manager Ball, myself, and staff, ETSU is interested in a 10-year agreement. They want to lock the facility down in terms of having a place to play. It's a great venue for basketball that has been, borne out over the past 10 years or so. The agreement is for, as I said, a 10-year period. It has an escalator clause for the rental section of the agreement of 4% a year. It has a escalator clause for setup and tear down charges for the floor. And then they also had interest in securing the rental of our auxiliary gym for potential University High, middle school practice, and then ultimately games perhaps. So we worked with Johnson City Schools because our commitment to them is that they have the use of that auxiliary gym for practice, for whether it be Science Hill, primarily Liberty Bell. So in discussions with AD Keith Turner at Science Hill, we are confident that our agreement with ETSU will not interfere in any way with Johnson City Schools' usage of that facility. We will also, if it's a situation where ETSU does not need the auxiliary gym for 5 full days that particular week, they've agreed to give us a 2-week schedule in advance so that we can continue to rent that auxiliary gym to other patrons as we currently do. There is an escalator built into the auxiliary gym costs as well. So this would be for a 10-year period of time. There are also one other new thing in this agreement versus the previous two is allowing ETSU to sell naming rights for the inner bowl of the arena. The arena name will not change. It is still Freedom Hall. There will be no selling of naming rights for the outside of the building, just for the internal bowl only. With the revenue that will be generated from that, ETSU is committed to a $1.6 million improvement in video and audio technology within the building. The city will have use of that technology for a certain number of days, 5 days, in most cases 7 days in the case of the use of the floor and the basketball goals, which are property of ETSU, for other activities that we will have in the facility. For example, the Big South tournament that we'll be hosting again this March.
Could you, sorry, go ahead, that's okay. Freedom Hall used to be part of the school system, and the city took that back over a few years ago. We moved all of the school activities, the day-to-day, out of that and took that over. So the cost of running Freedom Hall was included in the school systems before we took that back over. Is that correct?
Well, certainly schools' usage, it was still in our general fund.
Right.
Still in our general fund.
We try and attract shows to this place to bring revenue in when we're not using it for schools or for ETSU now, and they're leasing it from us too.
Correct.
But there are other activities that go on there, and we try and attract shows to bring more revenue in for that facility. Yes. But I think we have used it like we do our parks and things that don't cost people to go to in the city, but they're a big expense for us to use. Yes. Same thing in the past has been, we had 2 golf courses, and we were losing a lot of money because of 2 of those, but they were like parks, treated like parks. They were something for our citizens to use. We got rid of one of them because it wasn't our citizens really that were using it most of the time. It was in Unicoi County, and they were getting some of the fees and things. So Pine Oaks is the only one that we own now, and it's almost breaking even
Close.
Now because of
Yes.
the use and because of those kind of things. So Freedom Hall is a facility for us that we can use for activities, plus we can have shows for our citizens to come in. And I'm not sure we would ever think we would break even, but it would be nice at some point in time to break even. But it is a thing for our public to have and to bring shows, circuses, and those kind of things in. And we make a little bit of money back, but we're going to lose money pretty much every year on this facility.
Certainly a great point, Commissioner Fowler. The school's usage of that facility, they do not pay us a fee to use that. Obviously, ETSU will be, other private clubs and things of that nature would pay a fee. We also use the Freedom Hall pool to support Science Hill swim team, so we don't charge them for the use of the facility either. Another big annual event that's hosted at Freedom Hall that is at a significant expense is July 4th fireworks. That generally is well over $100,000 expense for us, but it's a community event that anyone can attend free of charge. So yes, you are very accurate in your description that it is a true community center in one sense. And I'm sure that some of the commissioners may remember several years ago a study was performed and an RFP was issued for the potential private operation of Freedom Hall. And the person that submitted the, I believe it was a group called Spectera, if memory serves me correctly. I wasn't in this role at that time, but I was employed by the city. They came back and said, yeah, we'd be happy to operate it. We do think we can get more shows in here, but we still need a $600,000 subsidy. So at that time, I believe the city made the decision, we can do that on our own. They were looking obviously for a different financial model, which would make sense. So yes, it is a multi-use facility that serves a lot of purposes for the community outside of those that generate revenue for us.
And Freedom Hall can break even. It just assumes an Elton John concert every year.
Or maybe a couple of Elton
Maybe
John
a couple of Elton Johns. I mean, and so that, I think it's probably worth, in addition to having done an RFP for professional management, perhaps you can speak to the consultancy that was brought in as we tried to look, you know, one of the challenges at Freedom Hall, and it may be helpful for you to talk through, you know, 50 years ago when it was built, you know, Bob Hope and Elvis and AC/DC, and it's a big acts, and those folks, Freedom Hall is competing with a different kind of venue now that has a different financial model, and maybe you can talk a little bit about that. I would like to remind you, though, of a few of the questions that Tricia asked that bear addressing relative to the annual revenue. Where does some of it come from, where she couldn't reconcile that? Then I think we've kind of addressed some of the break-even questions and the subsidy. One side note, we should probably note that we moved golf. Remember, when we closed Buffalo Valley, in addition to closing it, we finally reckoned with the fact that golf couldn't reasonably be an enterprise fund. So there was a time where golf was being treated like water and sewer and stormwater fees because golf paid for golf.
Correct.
But golf didn't pay for golf. And
Correct.
so, but could you address some of her questions and then talk about the business model approach that we've looked at over the last couple of years to try to get to a better place?
I'd be happy to. So we find ourselves uniquely positioned in a negative way between two casinos now. Cherokee Casino in North Carolina and now the casino in Bristol, who both seat approximately 1,200 to 1,500 patrons. We as a government entity cannot guarantee an artist a set amount of money to play Freedom Hall. These private venues can do that. And I'll give you an example, a recent example. Mark and his group worked really hard to get Travis Tritt booked at Freedom Hall. Travis Tritt, successful country artist, kind of at the end of his career, but certainly could still draw a crowd. Well, we couldn't guarantee any money other than ticket sales, right? Completely dependent upon ticket sales. Whereas the casino can guarantee a flat amount to that artist. Well, guess what? Travis Tritt pulled his date from Freedom Hall and he played at the Bristol Casino. So that's just one example. It's very, very difficult to compete in this market given our size. The larger artists want to play the stadium venues where they can sell 60 or 80,000 seats. Obviously, we can't compete in that space. Where we can compete and where I think Mark and his staff have done a really good job is attracting some of these niche players who are okay selling 2,000 seats. I think we've got Gary Allen scheduled for maybe next Friday that's selling pretty well. And those are profitable shows for us. But, you know, it's a very difficult space that we find ourselves in. And to Commissioner Wise's point, when a study was performed, I believe, I came back in 2023, I think that study came along in 2022, and the consultant said basically without significant capital investments in Freedom Hall, particularly in the back of the house, then you're not going to be able to attract any larger artists to come. And when I say significant, I say millions of dollars. The back of the house there, we have one way in, one way out. Most artists expect multiple access points into the facility, as well as a much upgraded dressing room area and things of that nature. When Elton John last played Freedom Hall, Elton John doesn't like to look at concrete walls. So the staff had to put carpeting down and drapes across anything that had concrete on it to meet his demand. So that's another example of where we struggle with a 50-year-old building.
Mr. Willis, I think another point, we recently landed the Big South Conference basketball tournament. Big, that's a big deal for Freedom Hall as well. And we may not charge a great deal for that tournament to be there because they bring in so much more revenue in our community. So the numbers are like $6 million that got left behind in hotels and food and then sales tax. And so it pays off in other ways. But to my knowledge and experience, things like, I don't know how the Martin Center's doing now, but you never really kind of make a profit off of these kinds of facilities, certainly not in convention centers. And you know, back in the day when Freedom Hall was built, there were a number that were built kind of on that size and structure, some of them on school campuses, and being on a school campus also restricts us from some things. Right. But it's for benefit, you know, it's for great benefit for the community, and we use it as such. We just had a big Halloween party on the on the campus of Freedom Hall 2 weeks ago, and it didn't generate any money, but it generated thousands of people coming up there.
It did.
For their families.
Yes. And to Vice Mayor's point, I think the CDB has estimated $6.2 million in visitor spending for the Big South Tournament Week. We are happy to have them back this March and hope that we can have them in future years as well. But none of that makes it to the Freedom Hall balance sheet, to your point. And I can tell you our hotel motel tax year over year was up nearly $1 million. And I think that's directly attributable to not only things like the Big South, but if you've been by Wing Deer Park on the weekend lately, regardless of the season, quite honestly, it's full. And that, in most cases, they're bringing in a lot of visitors that spend money in our restaurants and our hotels and grocery stores and everything along the way that has an economic impact, but that doesn't hit our general fund balance sheet, if you will.
Well, Mr. Willis, I've made a lot of comments about Freedom Hall since I've been around, and a lot of questions. The big one as far as it goes tonight is just the lease with ETSU and the numbers in that, and that's really what we're voting on. So as far as that lease, I mean, have you been negotiating that for a while? What's that conversation been looked like? Do you feel like it protects the city, especially as far as financial? Is there, as far as those numbers go, aside from sales tax and kind of hitting cost, is it a in the green item?
It's been a year. It's been a year-long process, and the $93,000 that was alluded to in the agenda summary was from a previous year. That's all dependent upon the number of games played, and that fluctuates from season to season. We also get a percentage of the concessions that's included in that number as well. All of our rental revenue from the auxiliary gym and those kinds of things. So yeah, it's difficult to reconcile year over year because there's always a differing number of home games that are played. But yes, I think the original reason that ETSU came to Freedom Hall, obviously it was a better venue for basketball, but quite honestly, it put activity in the building for 4 months. A lot of butts and seats, so to speak, and people in the facility. And there was a significant capital investment made back then with the new seating and some changes in the restrooms. It's not as though we haven't made improvements to the building, but again, it was built 50 years ago, and some of those back of the house and the underbelly that you guys have seen has its challenges just from a setup standpoint.
And, 2 more questions is, it does look like they are committing to a pretty significant capital improvement, $1.6 million. And the second is just, as far as when they use it, are they good stewards? Is Freedom Hall staff having to clean up after them? Are they taking care of the space and that they're using? Is it better to have them in there maintaining what they're using?
I think it's always better to have someone in the building versus an empty building, is how I would respond to that. We have room for improvement in the working relationship. We definitely do. I think anyone who's in the building on that of a consistent basis, takes ownership of the building to a certain degree, and maybe sometimes a little further than they should, just to be very transparent about that. So I think we have room to build on that relationship and have a better working relationship. But certainly having basketball in that arena is great for this community, and we hope that they have a great season. I know when, in past seasons when we've competed for championships and made it to the NCAA tournament, there's not a better venue than Freedom Hall when it's full in terms of how the crowd can impact the game. Much better than the mini dome. When I was in school, they played in the mini dome. And I saw ETSU beat NC State there when Les Robinson was the coach, and they had 2 All-Americans, but ETSU took them down in the mini dome. But it was not a great space to watch basketball. Can't compare to Freedom Hall, in my opinion.
Well, go Bucks. And Kathy, the next item.
The next item for question, and it's item 7.4.1, which is the RFQ for barge design for the Market Street Bridge over CSX Railroad. And I know that John Lane had not been prepared to be the director tonight, but I'm going to refer to him as the Director of Water and Sewer tonight. So you get to start your job a little bit earlier than tomorrow. So congratulations and welcome, Director John Lane.
Well, thank you very much, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, and Ms. Ball. So the item before you tonight is an engineering services agreement with Barge Design Services. So State Route 34, which is the West Market Street roadway in Johnson City, TDOT is planning to replace the bridge that crosses the CSX Railway. So TDOT has a very set process of how they go through that relocation and replacement of their bridges. So what's before you tonight is engineering design services for water and sewer utilities in that region. So when TDOT informs a utility that they're going to replace a bridge, they go before and have what they call A-date, B-date plans. So this bridge before you that's going to be replaced is actually planned to be replaced in calendar year 2029, so still several years out. But in order to hit that timeline, TDOT has certain milestones along the way. So before you tonight is allowing Barge to have the opportunity to do design services for our department for the water and sewer relocation around that bridge. We actually have an existing 12-inch water line that hangs on that current bridge right next to the Boys and Girls Club. So this project actually with TDOT is what they call Chapter 86. If it's a Chapter 86 project, then the utility relocation is paid for. So we would have this engineering services agreement, and then during the relocation, TDOT would actually pay for the utility relocation. The only benefit, or they call it a betterment process. So for us, we have an existing 12-inch water line. I know y'all sat through the master planning process last fall. For us, we actually would do a betterment to upsize the water line to a 16-inch diameter. So whenever we have an opportunity to increase the diameter, especially in this case, that's what we'd like to do. So all we would have to do is actually pay for the betterment price, the difference in those two utility sizes. So assuming it's passed before y'all tonight, Barge Design Services would then go before us and then generate drawings for what they call their A-date plans. And then there would be several years in between, and B-date would actually be in May of 2028 before TDOT lets the project, which means bids the project in fall of 2028 for a calendar year 2029 construction timeline. So still several years out, but the first step is submitting the A-date plans, which is basically just getting every utility's foot in the door as part of the project scope. Any questions on that?
Thank you. No, that would, I mean, this is going to help us in the long run.
Yes,
because
ma'am.
you'll be able
Yeah.
to increase the diameter of the water lines. Okay, but you really won't start construction until?
Not for several more years, and then that would be, and what's outlined in this agenda summary is just for engineering design services. Once the contractor has been awarded, then I would come back before you at that time for construction administration for Barge at that point, once we know who the contractor is.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Move approval on the consent agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Laus, you call the roll.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Getz?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Mayor Cox?
Yes.
Commissioners, the next item on your agenda is ordinances under second reading. So this would be second reading and public hearing of an ordinance to abandon 9,162 square feet of public right-of-way at the intersection of South Rhone Street and East Highland Road.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, Administrative Leadership, and Council. Tonight I'm Winnie Hodges, and we are presenting on a roadway abandonment. I want to talk a little bit about this process because you will see this process a couple of more times on our planning calendar. We're in the public hearing part, and when a public roadway is abandoned, that does need to come before a public body and be read 3 times as an ordinance. So this is the second reading of public hearing, and then next meeting, we'll have the third and final reading. The request, as Ms. Ball mentioned, is to abandon a certain portion of the right-of-way. During the rezoning of this property here, which is where the Dollar General sits on South Rhone Street, it was highlighted that this road, where Highland was, it had some site distance challenges. So we took an opportunity to relocate that road, and this is just kind of an administrative part of abandoning the portion we no longer need. This does come from engineering, so they are the ones that are kind of making this request. And then planning does not have any concerns with it, and the public sewer easement will still be maintained. So you just need to know that. Staff recommends approval. The Planning Commission also recommended approval. It's a public hearing, so it does need to be open for that, and I'm available for any questions.
Could you go back to the slide? So when we abandon the right-of-way, part of it goes to one side and part of it is it basically
Yes.
down the middle, and so this little like peninsula thing where East Highland wraps around picks up another 15 feet or whatever at the back of their property.
This would
for
pick
their
up, this picks up a little bit here, and these 2 properties pick up some additional.
But there is still a utility easement running through
Yes.
the middle of it.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And it is asphalt.
Yes,
It's paved.
we have
It's
not
the old-
taken
it's
up
the old
anything.
road.
You can still see the road there.
And we won't do anything to that
No.
then? It's up to the
We
new property
no longer
owners.
maintain it.
Any other questions?
Move for approval.
We have-
Oh,
Uh,
sorry.
So I'll open the floor to public hearing. If anyone wishes to come and speak in favor or against. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing.
Move for approval.
Second.
Ms. Laus, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Getz?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Mayor Cox?
Yes.
Commissioners, we have under City Manager's Report, we have an update from LHP. We have Talal here to give us an update on the Tapestry. This is a project that you all are very familiar with, and we appreciate him giving us an update on the status of the project and filling us in on when residents will be able to move in.
Hi, good evening. My name is Talal Shakarshi with LHP. Thank you for having me. Glad to see some familiar faces up here as well as some new ones. And as Kathy just mentioned, I thought it would be helpful for me to give a little bit of a backstory on Tapestry at Roan Hill, the 6 years that it took us to get to this point, and my thanks to everybody that's been involved and kind of where we are right now. And as I mentioned to Alicia, I do have a baby at home, and she kept me up from 2 to 4 a.m., so I apologize if any of these factoids are incorrect, but I did my best to write them down. So back in 2019, the JCDA acquired the John Sevier Center, and then in 2021, LHP Capital, my employer, came in as a manager to help the JCDA get a passing REACT score. And that was kind of one of the steps that allowed us to then submit a Section 8BB HAP transfer, which would allow us to take the Section 8 contract from John Sevier Center and move it to Tapestry at Roan Hill, which is the new development that we have been working on since 2023. And so back in 2022, we proposed a replacement housing development, and I believe the National Development Council looked at our proposal as well as JCDA and approved it. And in 2023, we submitted our tax credit application to the Tennessee Housing Development Agency, and were awarded the credits. And so thankfully, in December of 2023, we closed on all of the financing and broke ground on the project over by Food City on South Roan Street. And 23 months later, here we are. So very proud of the work of Merritt Construction, of Smith G out of Nashville, our architects, of our co-developers, Bristol, to get us to this point. We are ever so close to actually start moving residents, and our hope was to move them this month, but due to not having the proper signage in place, we had to move that back just a touch. And so our goal is to still try to move the residents prior to Christmas as best we can and not move them during the holidays. But I do want to, again, reiterate my thanks to the City of Johnson City and to everybody involved in helping us not only get to this point, but also in their willingness to help the residents move to their new homes. And so thank you very much. That is the quick, short history of the project. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Just remind us how many apartments are going online?
145.
Okay. And
So
they're-
all one bedrooms.
Are they all filled now?
They will be all filled in as soon as we can get the residents moved over, but
Okay.
very excited because they're significantly larger than the units that are currently at John Sevier Center, and so we think that the residents are going to be really happy.
I think we met very early on in LHP's involvement with the project, and at any number of times, it seemed like this was just not going to come to pass, because this project for the last several years was one step forward and one step back and one step forward and two steps back. And to be at this point where we really can see moves in the imminent future is really very encouraging, and the quality of the housing that will be made available is so marked an improvement, and LHP has been a very good partner through this project, because managing a 100-year-old building is hard even on the best of days. And then when you get into I learned more about the bureaucratic intricacies of HUD in my time on the JCDA, and you know, the best of intent mired in all the wrong incentives, and to see it come to this is really a wonderful outcome, but not one that was a foregone conclusion necessarily at each of the inflection points over the last 7 or 8 years.
I agree. Thank you.
We took a tour a few weeks ago, and the apartments are just wonderful. I can imagine what it's going to be like when our residents get in, and they all have their own washer and dryer in their apartments. That was the thing that meant so much to me, but really looking forward to seeing them get settled in. The interior space in the courtyard, although they'll be moving there when it's colder weather, but it's such a great kind of outdoor experience for them that they can get out in a safe environment and enjoy the outdoors, and then just walk over to the grocery store, and which has pharmacy in it, and so I think it's a good location. It's on the bus line, and I think the bus line has figured out how to come up into the complex, so people can catch the bus and go wherever they need to. But thank you to you and your company. You've stuck with Johnson City for quite a while. Hope you like it here.
I love it.
You know, yeah, you've been here enough, right?
Well, this room has changed since
It
I've been
has,
coming here,
yeah,
and it looks really nice.
definitely has, yeah. But thank you and your company for being willing to invest in Johnson City and help us become a better city. So.
We're glad to be here, and we hope to continue developing here in the future. So thank you for having us.
So that same day, we toured the John Sevier Center, and then we went over to the new facility, and you're talking about night and day about those. I am excited for these, some of our lowest of residents as far as how they get treated or whatever. They're getting treated very well, and that's what we're hoping for when we move them over there. So thank you for making that come true for them.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. You said 6 years really since this conversation started? 72 months, so it's 2 units a month. So Thanks for sticking with it, and if you look at it that way, that's accomplishing a lot in a short amount of time. So, yeah, thank you, and just maintain it as well as it looks now would be great.
Will do.
Thanks to Law.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
We need to get some WD-40 on that gate. You're on that, okay, there.
Well, thanks, everybody. I'll see if anybody wants to wrap anything up. Dr. Fowler, do you have anything?
Well, I should be at a football game right now, but they moved to tonight from tomorrow night. But Oak Ridge and Science Hill just kicked off at 7 o'clock tonight at Oak Ridge for the state on the playoffs tonight. So I'm praying that nobody gets hurt and that we come through tonight would be great. So.
Yeah, I want to bring to our attention and then to the public's attention, the American Legion, which is just right over here, are hosting a Veterans Day parade on Saturday. And I believe we have something in our packet on it as well. I think it's going to be a short route. I'll see if I can find the time. It starts at 10 o'clock. And the gathering is over in King Commons. It's just going to walk up Commerce Street to the farmer's market. So it'll be kind of a short walk, but it would be great for those of us who can show up to be a part of the Veterans Day Parade and to support the American Legion, our veterans in this area.
I would just point out we had the opportunity to host members of our local media here this afternoon for just a sort of a conversation with the commission and reporters from 2 of the TV stations and the Johnson City Press. And so if you're looking for some invigorating television, look on the city's website on the topics of interest, and you can watch the whole hour of questions and answers, and it's something we would hope to repeat again periodically in the future as a way to maintain those lines of communication. But you can find the whole video apparently is on the website on the topics of interest.
And I had the opportunity to say this during our time with the media earlier, but I have now been here 21 days and kind of reflecting on the last couple weeks. I've really enjoyed getting to be out in our community, participate in a few different dedications, spend some time with staff, celebrate with our fire department on their new fire truck touring the new facility, and really looking forward to jumping in and spending time with additional departments in the city. But I really want to thank the city staff and others for their warm welcome, and look forward to learning more, and just happy to be a part of this body. So thank you all for all that you've done.
All right, well, one last thanks to Director Witherspoon for his service, and with that, I'll close the meeting.